Hey there YouTube, welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and today we are going to be going over the June 2024 layout update. So stick around and I'll show you what was done here in the month of June. Okay, first up in the month of June, I worked on this siding here just a bit, not this part in particular, but the part that we're about to drive down to, and that was because a number of the turnouts had stopped functioning. Sure, the turnouts worked. I could flip them to diverging route or to the straight route. However, what I couldn't do was get them to stay powered, and the sounds kept cutting out, and boy is that annoying when you don't have continuous sound. And after a little bit of investigative work, I found out that there was definitely an issue with 3 of the turnouts in the, I think, 4 or 5 turnout array that I had down in town. So something happened there. I don't know if the turnout it wasn't picking up power, and part of the frog wasn't routing correctly. So needed to do just a little bit of work. It was a relatively easy fix with just a small amount of solder, and I returned power to the turnouts. And that is allowing me to show you what I'm going to show you now, and that is that I was able to do a little bit of switching down here in town, which was kind of fun. And so if you notice that those cars that were sitting on the turnout, the spur down there, they used to be over here in the concrete bulk transfer area, and I switched them out, so now I can freely move my locomotives down through town. That was one of the turnouts that was having issues. So was this one right here. So it's good to see we're moving. I know it didn't stall there. It got hung up. In the process of doing what I was doing, I accidentally damaged some of the overhead wires, and I've got to repair them. But the track is working, and that's what was important. So in the next few minutes here, I'm going to get the overhead wires repaired. So I am going to be honest with you, I did spend a lot of June, now that I had this whole branch line working, I did spend a lot of time just kind of putzing around over here and playing with trains and running them in and out and switching out the handful of hopper cars that I have here. And because some of these cars really hadn't left this this siding in so long, I forgot how nicely detailed some of them were, and so it's kind of cool to sort of reconnect with those a little bit and just kind of pull them around the layout. And I will tell you, switching ops are a lot more fun when you have sound. So if you don't have sound on your locomotives, it's definitely a missed dimension of the hobby now. And you probably want to go ahead and get yourself some sound. Okay, one of the other major improvements that I did was I fixed this track, and I was tired of every time I was showing you guys a video of a locomotive pulling cars up a grade, everything getting stuck. So I finally went back in here and I corrected the track that had sunk. And so this is going to be a cautionary tale for those of you who are getting into the hobby. There is products like trying to think of what the it's a celluclay that is the product that was the problem, but there's others there that are paper mache type product, and you've got to be very careful with these, because what happens is they shrink when they dry, and that, if it's near your tracks, will pull your tracks out of alignment. And even though I'm using the Kato Unitrack, and for the most part it's on the roadbed, and it doesn't really, it's double tracked, and the double tracks are together. Where it goes single track, which is in this area, if you use a celluclay product, to kind of fill in the gap where you're going to ballast and everything, and it dries because it's attached to the roadbed, it will pull it out of alignment and it kind of dries a little funky. So I highly recommend not using that around your track, and if you do, make sure you keep it away from the roadbed where it's going to pull out of alignment. So that's what happened here. And so when I went back in here and I replaced it and I corrected it, I did not use celluclay to put everything back. I used a standard plaster cloth, made sure it stayed off the roadbed, and then that was, so far everything stayed in alignment. So just a word of caution, be very careful if you're using anything that may shrink around your track, because if it shrinks or if it's humidity sensitive, like a paper mache product is, you are going to have issues with your track alignment over time. Okay, so the next area where I did some realignment work was down here in the roundhouse area, and I brought this track up to grade just a little bit. So if you recall, it kind of dipped down there, and when you look down here now, you can see it's built up, and it's now in alignment actually with the rest of the track. It sat a lot lower than the locomotive storage tracks here, and so I corrected that, because what was happening was there was a bump here in the track where that was sort of dipping down pretty quickly, and we were getting hung up here, and then that whole alignment had gotten pulled out of place. Once again, it's the celluclay that got in the way there, so I got that fixed. And then if you look on the far side over by where the CP RS3 is, I think it's a 3, might be a 2, but you can see that there's some brown paint over there, so I finally patched in that area between the fascia and the layout. It doesn't have any scenery on it, obviously. That was something that I did earlier in the week, and I'm filming this on Friday, so just haven't gotten to the scenery yet. But I will get that scenic before the 4th of July, because I've got folks coming over for the 4th of July, and probably going to end up taking people down into the training room, and that just looks like I didn't finish the job. So going to go ahead and get that finished. The very next thing that I got accomplished, and some of you may have seen the photographs in the communities tab. If not, go ahead and check those out. But we do have a patched out locomotive that is relettered for the Allegheny Northern. It has a stripe through the CSX, and so what I wanted to do is I did not want to replace the CSX because it's in the Great Ghost scheme, which I like. I did weather it, put on the AN reporting marks, added some cut levers and some MU hoses to the front and back of the locomotive. I'll zoom in here for you so you can see that a little bit better anyway. And that's about as close as you're going to get. But anyway, you can see them there. And so that is a quick patch job because the AN needed this locomotive into service and they could not wait for a full paint job. I took this from inspiration of a photo I saw of something very similar that Pan Am did. They had taken a CSX locomotive and they just scratched out CSX. I didn't even see that they put any other reporting mark on it. So I took it the next step. I at least numbered it for the Allegheny Northern. But so the next task for that locomotive is eventually I do want to put a ESU Loc Sound V5 decoder in there. But for now, it is in stealth, just like its paint scheme. So eventually that'll get upgraded. Okay, this is the long view of the task that probably took the most amount of timing, and that was getting all of these lights set up for the intermodal yard. And now the truckway is lit up. I had to add a second DC power bus to the layout because the runaround from the original was just way too far away. It was going to be way too much wire, and I didn't want to put that much resistance in the system running off of just an old DC power pack. So there's a second power pack mounted under the layout in this area, and it is going to power the DC circuits, the signals, and everything on this side of the layout. But what I wanted to do also is up above, you'll notice that the LED strip is a more soft blue light, so that when you are in this area, it is going to always sort of look like a dusk or a nighttime area. and the lights will always be on at the intermodal terminal, so that will be cool. At this point in time, I do need to do a lot more lighting. I want to get lighting on the vehicles. I want to get lighting actually back in the yard area where the trains are. And so I'm going to take you in my hand here a little bit in a second and get you a little bit closer so you can see what that all looks like. But there's a lot more lights planned for this area. This was just the first stretch. These are Atlas lights, and they are LEDs. You have to solder the resistor on and then kind of connect everything together. It's not a real big deal. I have a terminal strip underneath that everything's wired to, and then the terminal strips are just wired to the DC power pack. Like I said, it's not necessarily a glamorous job, but it did take a little bit of time to get everything soldered and wired and in place. So let's go head over and take a look at that. All right, so we're just gonna give you a nice little close shot here of the intermodal yard. This is the inland intermodal yard. Yes, these wires need buried in the pavement. They're kind of sitting up above right now, so that all needs patched in. I'm going to take care of that with some styrene. And you're probably wondering why that one light is a different color. And, you know, you've got the cools and the warms. Well, I had extra sets, and this one had a bad resistor on it. Well, I didn't know that because I didn't test it before I installed it, and I ended up frying one of the lamp posts. So when I grabbed one from the other set, found out they were different temperature, and well, yep, here we are. So I didn't want to leave that as a gap, so I put the other one in for now, and then when I get another set, I'll just swap it back out. No big deal. But yeah, so check your resistors before you power them up, or you'll fry your LEDs. But some things I want to do is on the little check-in shed there, I want to get some lights. I want to put some lights on the actual canopy. And then I'm going to have to, because nobody makes them in N scale, but I'm going to build some big yard lights using LEDs and some brass and some styrene here, so I can get some nice big yard lights here. So that'll be pretty cool. Okay, I also had some of these little transformers still left, so I started setting up to put the wires in town. I'm going to need another one over here to grab this house. Didn't have enough for that. And then I'm going to take you for a little stroll here, and I did throw another set right here. So it's not fully connected yet. You can see the transformers right there, and then I'm just going to run this and eventually glue this onto the building. This facility is large enough to have its own substation in the back here, so eventually I will get that kit and add that as well. But for now, that's where we're at with some upgraded power. And if you can't tell, the trains are running on the layout, and right now I've got one hand holding the phone and the other hand is right here, so I don't have the throttle in my hand, and the trains have been running beautifully, so I have not needed to worry about adjusting them. They've just been running the main line, doing their own thing, and yep, that's pretty cool. So if you watched the last video, you know that is the scale trains tenders following behind the big boy, and they are awesome. Very nicely detailed, so once again, highly recommend anything scale trains. Speaking of scale trains, I think I did mention I picked up a few more of the coil cars, and they are absolutely beautiful. You can remove them and see the coils inside. The coils come out, so if you wanted to take them out for any reason, you could do that. But they are fantastically detailed, so you can check out the video if you'd like to see a little bit more on those. This railroad is going to need a few more of these coiled cars, and I think there's two running around on the train right now. There's two right here, and then there's two of the old Atlas ones in here. The Atlas ones are going to be replaced by the scale trains version. So eventually, when I have enough, I'll get the Atlas versions off the layout and mark those for sale. And the last thing that I was working on in the month of June was to build the office building for the upper intermodal yard. It is the last major area on the layout that doesn't have much scenery, and so now it's time to get this going. So started off with the building. Eventually it will be interiors and have lights and the whole 9 yards. But for now, I just want to get a roof on it and get it assembled, and we'll worry about detailing it later. Alright, so that was quite a few tasks. I know some of them quite random, but that was what got done in the month of June. And coming into July, July is a busy month. July is a vacation month. It's a holiday month, and there's just a lot of stuff happening in July. August calms down just a little bit, and then by the time we get into September, we are looking at the N-Scale weekend in Altoona. So I know we're looking way down the line here, but when we get into July, things are going to be a little bit slower. So we're going to go ahead and not set our sights too high for what may get done in July. I am going to pick up a couple more scale trains. I want to get a -9 in the NS scheme, and I think I need another SD40-2 in NS. I don't know why, I feel the need that it would be something good to have. So may upgrade the locomotive rolling stock here just a little bit. I haven't decided yet. And after that, I don't really have any plans. I'm going to work a little bit more on the intermodal, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of detail work. You know, as we start getting some of this town area a little bit more built out, it needs people, it needs vehicles, signs, the whole 9 yards. So I may try to work on that a little bit. If I get that far, I'm going to be happy. But right now the layout is running well, as you can tell, and I'd like to just keep doing some train time if I can. Okay, until next weekend, everybody stay safe and healthy over the 4th of July holiday. For those of you who are not celebrating 4th of July because you don't live in the USA, I'm sorry for you. But for those of you who are, enjoy your time, have a good time, be safe, don't set fireworks off someplace you shouldn't and end up getting hurt. And we'll see you back here next weekend.